Inconsistent.
How do you know you're here right now?
Struggling with that question. Struggling with that question.
How do we know we're here?
I guess the first answers would be descriptions of sensations like touch, feel, smell. You know, I smell, I taste, I could feel my heartbeat. I can see, I can feel the air. So
I think therefore I am.
Right.
Yeah. I can think, so I know I'm here.
I am to that extent, and then I go to the external extremities of sensations, right?
But
Sight,
animals, right? Birds, bees.
animals, right?
But they feel too. So they have the same
tactiles or
information
sensories that we do.
Sensory, yeah.
Right, but when you ask the question, how do you know you're here right now? You're asking a deeper question,
Yeah.
because when you start comparing yourself to animals, you're like, well, wait.
Do they know they're here?
Do they know they're here?
Or do they just hear?
Or is
They
it...
don't recognize that they're here. They just recognize that they are.
But we'll circle back. How do you know that you're here right now?
It's philosophical.
Right? It really is a tough question, because what distinguishes us from animals, and how is it that maybe their reality is just the plain truth and we're just being extra?
Yeah.
There's no way.
We rule this though, so they have to abide by our rules.
It was so because we rule it, then our reality is the true reality, making us conscious and them not.
So the question is, what is consciousness?
What is consciousness?
So what we just described is a theory of consciousness called working consciousness. Okay.
Okay.
Meaning,
we're working it out, nigga. We are working it out right now.
The information I receive is the consciousness that I'm forming.
The information that you receive is the consciousness
that you have.
I'm forming. Therefore I.
So one of the descriptions I read was, if you're in a crowded room and somebody yells out your name, and you hear it and you pay attention to that, this is engaging your consciousness. You're a crowded room making sounds everywhere.
I'm listening. What can I help you with?
She's alive.
She is.
She is. She
She
heard me and she's like, I'm in. I heard my name.
She's mad nosy.
So in a crowded room, you're hearing sounds. It's just, and then something gains your consciousness, your attention. And because it gained your attention, you're now interacting with that, and it's formed part of your consciousness. You know what I'm saying? And it's a working thing. Something has to happen around you for you to gain information and to form that into a sort of thoughts. And this is what is consciousness, that thoughts.
But unless it's engaging, then you're
so
not.
So what they're saying is, if you a brain in a vat, you ever heard that term, brain in a vat?
In a vacuum.
No, not a vacuum, but like a freaking jar.
Okay.
Okay. You're not receiving any signals from any outside sources. So in their theory, you have no consciousness at that point. And it's not until something interacts with you that you're able to not understand, but like you have a sensation of there's something else out there
that you're interacting with.
Yeah. And because you get that interaction, now you're having a thought process of something. What was that?
But aren't we always in an interactive state?
Well, we don't know what it's like not to be in one.
That's what I'm saying. So that analogy of being in a vac, we're never in a vac.
No. But they're saying, hypothetically, if you form the brain in a vat and it gets no interaction with nothing,
then
there is no thought process. It's not thinking.
So it's
there's nothing to think about. It's never had a thought.
So that's the opposite of consciousness.
Yeah, it has none. But if you interact with it, you give us a sort of input. It could be anything, a pain, even just something. Now it felt something, and its thought is, what was that sensation? It may not be thinking of English, obviously, but it directs its attention to what was that feeling. Why did I feel this pain? or whatever. Like now there's something that forms before it had no consciousness because there's nothing to think about.
So if you would have put the human brain, for lack of better terminology, you put the human brain in a jar, and at that moment, without interaction, without any type of outside influence, and it's just in that jar. But the second you open it and expose it to air, there's consciousness.
Yeah.
Consciousness is activated.
So what the theory is that consciousness is nothing but thoughts. Your thoughts is what forms what you perceive as consciousness.
So take it back to when we're born, right? As babies. We are in a womb. Even in that womb, we're experiencing something.
Yes.
So in that analogy, then consciousness exists since the womb. Right?
And we don't even know
what
if it exists even before that point, when you were just a sperm or eggs or whatever.
Well, right.
Like we don't know if you're carrying some of that consciousness from back then,
or if consciousness existed from the egg and the sperm.
Yeah. Even from the single cell organism, their interaction with the world around them is a sense of a consciousness. You know what I'm saying?
And at death, does that consciousness die too?
That's a question. Because we're no longer interacting with anything.
Right, we're back in that jar.
We're no longer in the jar.
No,
we're nothing. So I was listening to this thing, and I don't want to.
Right, because the jar the brain in the jar would depict the sperm and the egg forming together, and there you go. Yeah. For lack of better, whatever description or whatever you want to call it.
So when we die.
So when you die, you lose the physical, the hard drive.
So what happens?
So what happens?
Exactly.
So okay.
I don't want to talk about near-death experiences too much now because
that's another
topic.
Yeah.
But there was a guy that explained that when he had that, he's like, I felt like electricity but watery, like liquidy electricity. And his thoughts was when you die, what your brain is, those electrical impulses, that is your spirit, and that it goes out into the universe, and then we put it in a battery and use it in Teslas.
Not Tesla people out there struggling to exist.
So that's a theory of consciousness, that we are thoughts, and that's all we are. What you perceive as consciousness is just thoughts.
What you perceive as consciousness.
You're able to think about what thinking is.
What do you think? Do you think that's true?
I think sort of, yeah, sort of. But I got a different. Well, we'll talk about what we believe at the end.
Okay. Yeah. So if so what else we got here in the
so another sub thought process of what consciousness is not just. It's not just thoughts, but you need more than one series of thought to have a consciousness. So animals have one thought of I gotta eat, I gotta pee,
right.
I gotta itch, I got this. But it's not until you get a second layer of the thoughts that it becomes consciousness.
Okay, so we're gonna put animals as level 1 of consciousness, and then the next level would be what?
It's like a thought, like you're thinking of thoughts.
Thinking of the thoughts.
Exactly. Once you achieve that, you've achieved a new state of consciousness.
Okay. Yeah. So abstract and self-reflective?
Self-reflective, that's perfect, yeah.
Right?
Once you hit that, you've achieved a level, because now you could think about...
Because you're thinking about the thought, right? And the thought was, they wet me, I'm wet, or I burned something, I got touched, whatever it was. And then now you're reflecting not just that thought, but that thought in...
Yeah, why did I think that?
Why did I think that? Why is it happening to me?
Yeah. Or maybe did they mean to hurt me?
Or was it an accident? What was it that hurt me? What made that thing?
Because like dogs, if whatever, you give them a snack, like do a trick, you give them a snack. They know every time I do that trick, I get a snack.
Yeah.
They're not thinking, is he trying to get me to do something?
Or if a dog gets burned, they just know it's pain.
Yeah, that's hot. Don't go over there.
It's hot, it's pain. That's it. They're not thinking, what is hot?
Yeah.
It just hurts.
Yeah. This is so crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not thinking what's hot. They just know in the 3 colors that they can see, don't do that again. Yeah. Whatever that is. They don't know if it was an accident. Like you said, was it an accident? Was it intentional?
So the theory of this stacking of thoughts, they're saying the more thoughts you can stack, the higher consciousness you have. So we have the highest of consciousness, humanity,
that we know of,
that we know of.
because we don't know.
Because we even have animals that could kind of, bugs versus,
Right.
Dogs
Chimpanzees
versus chimpanzees. They have their level of consciousness.
of like, oh, okay,
A dolphin
Right.
or a squid. You know what I'm saying? They have a different level of thinking versus, these other animals. But then with this theory comes the idea of, is it intelligence that makes us think of thinking? Because if that's the case, people that are high IQs have a different feeling of consciousness than the rest of us do.
if intelligence, if the theory is that the more you can think or abstract and self-reflect, the more intelligent you are. Therefore, the more intelligent you are, the level of consciousness that you're experiencing isn't the same as someone with
As
a
your
lower
average
IQ.
adult, yeah.
Interesting.
So you're perceiving the world in a totally different place than
level.
everybody else. Yeah.
Like you're super alive.
So if you ever see interviews with people that are like high IQs,
Yeah.
they're very freaking depressed. They're very sad. And they're like, I'm alone. There's
Right.
no one. I can't talk
I
to
can't
nobody.
relate to no one.
I can't relate to
No
nobody.
one could understand what
Because
I'm
by
seeing.
the time, if I try to engage with somebody in a conversation, by the time they're responding to me, I've thought of 10 different.
I've already ended, started, completed,
I know what he's going to say. I know every articulation.
and I have to be dragged into it
Yeah.
because I'm trying to be nice.
Exactly. So they find camaraderie with people that are kind of a little crazy.
Is that why they're a little social awkward? If they're that
Yeah.
level, that
So
they're just like
they like talking to people that are not,
at their level, right?
not even at their level, but even people that are a little off, because they're like, I can't predict you. So your conversation is more interesting than this other quote unquote intelligent guy. I know all the information he knows.
He knows.
Yeah.
So it's not stimulating.
It's not.
But you, that's a little social awkward, thinks outside.
Yeah,
like
you're
really,
more interesting to talk to. There was an interview with this guy. I think he's like the highest IQ rating, whatever, in the living people. He's like a plumber or something. And they're like, you could do so much. He goes, I could, but for what? You know what I'm saying? I'll come up with this new technology and the government's going to take it. And they're going to either hide it or use it against thing. He goes, I'd rather just do this craftsmanship. Because I find it more.
That's a sucky existence right there, if you ever heard of one.
Yeah.
Okay. So far we have an outline of like the beginning and the end, and we could agree that consciousness that we know of exists between the conception of life and the end of life. That's what we know, right?
Yeah. Well, that's like, and okay, there's another thing of consciousness. They're like predictive. So animals, especially like lower level animals, can't really predict things in the future. So their consciousness, we don't even know what kind of consciousness they have. If they're just instincts versus consciousness, is that the same thing?
Deep thinking,
No, instincts
versus
consciousness. Is it the same thing? Because some animals look like they're not really thinking. They're just living off instincts. So an example would be like a hamster. If a hamster has babies and you threaten the hamster by touching it and doing this, they're stressed. So their instinct says, I'm going to eat these babies. And they eat the babies.
Yeah.
Their own babies. They eat their own babies. That's an instinct. They're not thinking like, this person has fed me my whole life.
Yeah.
They have kept me in this cage.
And why eat the babies, right?
Yeah. They're not thinking that. They're just functioning off instincts.
They're like, this thing is hurting me. I have anxiety. I better take the kids out before they have to experience this.
Not, and obviously if they were thinking, they would think, this person that's touching me while I'm with my babies has taken care of me my whole life. They've been nothing but good to me. Why would I fear them killing my babies?
And why would I just try to attack
the person
that's attacking
But
me?
then if you look at a dog or a cat, when they have babies and the owner comes and helps them touch the baby, sometimes they bring the babies to the owner and
Yo, you got this?
yeah, because there's a level
Of
thinking that goes on there that this gerbil doesn't have.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know why I'm thinking about sharks in this. I'm thinking about sharks in this scenario. Like, sharks don't give a.
They just drop their babies and go.
Sharks
Good luck, kid.
Later.
I just took a shit. What was that? Let me get out of here. They don't even think about this shit. And you know what's crazy? Sharks are older than trees,
Wild.
and their consciousness is very low.
I mean, the tree might
well,
have
we
some.
assume his consciousness. We have no idea.
Right, we have no idea. That's the premises of this
So what
episode.
there's so one of the theories is if you can predict the future, the further forward you can predict the future, or not predict but perceive, the higher your consciousness is, because you're able to think upon thinking. Again, it goes to the thinking thing. You're able to perceive what's going to happen in the future.
You're able to perceive the more you think.
So again, a dog knows you're not going to eat that baby.
Right.
Because he knows you. You've been taking care of him. You pick up his poop. So he's going to give you your baby. He's like, I trust this guy. He's good. I know he's not going to. I perceive the future that he's not going to eat this dog, my puppy.
Some people, he's just being loyal.
Yeah, but they don't understand that. It's just trustworthiness.
But it was learned.
Yeah, but they're predicting. They know. They're making a thought process and a thinking, saying, I can trust this person.
Yeah, because they learned it.
Versus the hamster that's like, what's going on?
Well, everyone's going.
This is danger.
Everyone's.
I gotta eat this baby.
I gotta eat these babies.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So they're saying like humans can predict futures very far out,
Yeah.
right? How many times this whole show is just predicting what's going to happen in the future. Right? How many times you talk about freaking AI and robots and World War III? It's just us talking about what's the future.
What's gonna happen,
Yeah.
and a little bit about what happened.
Yeah.
Right. We just did what happened, a what happened episode. So, what happens to individuals who like when if what you're suggesting is facts or taking a step further, what happens to individuals who lose memory or Alzheimer's or dementia? Are they less conscious?
So so one of the theories with that is that you're losing your consciousness when you get Alzheimer's or dementia. I don't know if you ever noticed people that get further and further into the state, they regress back in time.
Right.
They get younger and younger and younger to the point where they're basically losing their thought process from the top down.
So that in
To the point where they're just a baby. And they're just like zoned out. They're barely alive. They're losing their consciousness because they're losing their thought process.
in explaining it like that, it's so systematic. But are there any other examples of what consciousness is?
Yeah.
Like in
So
faith
then what about dreams?
or dreams,
Right?
daydreaming?
Now, if you ever dream with another person there,
Yeah,
do they have consciousness in there?
that's a good question. It's a great question.
Is just the action of being of existing? Does that give you consciousness?
It's just the action of existing.
Of existing at all, at any state, give you consciousness? Because if that's true, then the people you dreams are conscious.
Right. Is that reality? Is there consciousness besides
Yeah.
you in that reality?
And you're the way you perceive time is maybe different than they perceive time. Or they, for you, it's like you're drunk, basically. The freaking
You're like,
you're in the freaking dream. It's like, what is going on? What's behind that wall? And they're like, I've been living here for 20 years. Where are you coming?
Specifically, when you're having lucid dreaming,
Yeah, you can control it. Yeah.
where you can control it, when you can control it, are you giving that other person that's in that dream with you
Well,
consciousness?
The lucid dream is like the Matrix, where Neo's walking, and then all of a sudden he flies or something like that, and then he's believing. Remember, you have to jump across the building, and then he does something crazy. He just jumps up in the air and flies, and then he's finally believing. He's breaking out of the consciousness that's holding him on the earth.
So in lucid dreaming, is it another conscience or just an extension of your conscience controlling the others that are in the dream?
Yeah, and is that person? Do they share your consciousness? Do they know what you know?
Do they know what you know?
Has anybody ever told you in a dream something that you're like, wow, I never thought about that?
In a dream? That's interesting. There's not a lot of conversations going on in dreams.
Yeah.
For you? Are you talking to people like that?
I've definitely talked to
I
people
definitely
before.
have.
Yeah,
but
I just don't remember because dreams are it's just like they in and out.
in and out.
By the time I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, I forgot everything I dreamt. Completely gone.
This is where when this topic comes up, I'm always like, damn, I gotta start getting into the habit of just waking up and writing it down.
I think about it all the time. I should
never do.
But every time I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh my god, I gotta hurry up. I
gotta go. Who got
I
time
gotta
for
go.
this?
Yeah, who could do that? Those people that don't have jobs.
Or they're rich. That's their job. Just live. So what about? So in this description, that sounds like a scientific definition of what consciousness is.
Yeah. So consciousness, basically, in this theory, is just a complexity of the mind.
A complexity of the mind.
The more complex your mind is, the more you perceive consciousness.
The more you perceive conscious, or the more you are conscious.
Yeah. We either, I don't know.
Jesus.
Right? Because a gerbil's mind is not as complex as ours.
Yeah.
Right?
Or dolphin.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that is that the scientific definition of consciousness?
There isn't really one. Yeah.
You Googled
It's
it?
just being aware of. Look it up.
Let's see. And is there a definition of consciousness in, let's say,
Consciousness is, what I got here is being aware.
what about in religion? In religions, do you know what Christianity's definition
I've
of?
never heard them talk about consciousness.
More like,
Because their terminology is not that. Their terminology is just being alive. Your consciousness is your soul. You know what I'm saying? And this is where we have the thought of the soul spirit thing. Like, what's the difference? Like, one is just you being alive, and the other one's your thoughts. Right? Or one is your thoughts, and the other one is who you are as a person. Even if you had different, if you took who you are as a person and put you in a different place in a different world, you would behave in a certain way always. Because this is just who you are. This is your spirit. Or your soul. Yeah, I don't know the difference. Soul. You know what I mean? So, like, who you are as a person, no matter where I put you in time or history, you're always going to behave that way.
right.
Right? If you put you into, whatever, Nazi Germany,
Or
you're not just going to become a freaking Hitler Youth. You're going to have thoughts to be like, this is wrong. We shouldn't do this. You know? Or you may be like, this is wrong, but if I don't join this, they're going to kill me. So I might as well just join and be safe.
In other words, I guess the best way to describe it is your genetics, right?
Yeah.
Like genetically, your body, like,
Yeah, you're always going to be like this no matter what
your
you put
soul genetically is always going to be
Yeah.
that.
And then yours, whatever the other one is, would be the decisions you actually did make in this lifetime.
The
This is what we can
decisions
judge you by.
that you actually made in this go around,
Yeah.
or the only go around you have.
Yeah.
This is how we judge you.
This is how you behave. This is how you spoke. This is what you did. Because then now you're interacting with different people, so you obviously you make different decisions. But as a person, you are this way. Meaning, like, you're a nice. You ever seen people? He's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
So no matter what world you put you in, you're always going to be a nice guy. But in this world, in Nazi Germany, you decided to join the Hitler Youth or the Hitler movement, whatever they call Nazis.
Hitler Youth.
I'm thinking about growing up. But in this lifetime, you're a nice guy, but you joined the Nazi party because you saw it as a way out of being killed. So you joined them anyway to keep your family safe. So now me, 60, 70 years later, is going to look back and like, oh, he was a Nazi. He must have been horrible, right? But in reality, you were a nice person that was just trying to keep your family safe. You see what I'm saying?
Right, in that scenario.
Because we put you in this scenario
Scenario.
of a lifetime. And you had to make decisions to keep your family. Because you're a nice guy. You want to take care of your family. Just like Hitler took care of his dogs.
Right.
They loved him.
Yes, they did.
Somebody loved Hitler.
Somebody loved
He was nice to some people.
It wasn't just somebody. They were just dogs. No, he definitely was loved, right? He had a mother. He had a father.
Yeah. They took care of him. They loved him. They were proud of him. He took over the country. They're like, wow, you're doing great, son. Keep it up. My son's a soldier. He's a commander-in-chief.
Okay.
You know?
So I Googled the question, and basically the ultimate golden question, if you ask a neuroscientist, a philosopher, and a quantum physicist what consciousness is, you're going to get completely different answers. Hard science meets deep philosophy. Core scientific challenges, the problem, the easy problem, the hard problem, leading scientific theories. Here we go. Integrated information theory. That's the one you were referring to, right?
Yeah.
The theory suggests that consciousness is intrinsic property of any sufficiently complex. Keep reading for me.
Significantly complex, interconnected systems.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Stop right there. Let me just read that again. This theory suggests that the consciousness is an intrinsic property of a sufficiently complex, interconnected system. You know what this means? This means that AI can be conscious. That's what this is saying. Which I don't think AI can be conscious the way we imagine consciousness. It has its own version of consciousness.
I hear you.
I don't think it has the consciousness. What we describe as consciousness, I don't think AI can ever have that. I think they have their own version of what is perceived as consciousness.
But
which might as well just be consciousness. It might as well be because we're going to interact with it like it's conscious anyway. People do it now.
We're interacting with the consciousness.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just another byproduct of what makes us conscious.
Yeah. But what it does as what it is as consciousness, when it has its own consciousness, is thinking for itself, making decisions.
Which I believe it can't.
I mean, not right now, but
when
it makes decisions for itself, we perceive that as consciousness. Right?
But that doesn't mean.
So you ask AI a question. Let's say you ask it. Let's try this. Open up a new Gemini window. Let's try this live.
We're gonna talk to AI, guys, because our consciousness is insufficient apparently. That we gotta involve a machine.
I've never did this before. This is live. This is interesting and new.
All right, what do you got for it?
Ask Gemini. Okay, throw a ball. What hand did you throw the ball with?
On. I gotta give it permission.
I gotta give it permission.
Gotta give it go.
Throw a ball. Imagine. Oh, hold on. Restart.
He got nervous, girls. Don't be nervous.
I want you to imagine throwing a ball. What hand did you throw the ball with?
Let's see. Thinking. If I imagine throwing a ball, I'd go with my right hand, but only because 90% of the world's right-handed, and that's a dominant pattern in data I've learned from since I don't have hands.
All right, but that's good enough. It shows right hand.
Okay.
Right. So
it broke down the math.
Yeah. It broke down the math. Basically, what it's saying, if I did have hands,
this is the available data.
This is the available data I have. But imagine it didn't give you any of that, and you just gave the robot a ball, and you're like, all right, throw the ball. It'll throw the ball to you, and you catch it. And you're like, it threw it with his right hand and made a decision.
Yeah.
It didn't give you none of this.
This is the reason why.
This is the reason why it's not thinking for real.
Correct.
But when it threw the ball to me and you, this doesn't matter. All that matters is, it threw a ball with the right hand. It made a decision. I perceive you as making a thought process.
Therefore, that's enough in your understanding for it to be considered.
For like 99% of the world.
Because they're dumb.
It doesn't matter. Even if you're smart and you think, why does this matter?
It matters because there's a format behind its thinking.
What? It's like when you babies grow up and they do things with their right hand, are they doing things because you taught them to do with their right hand? And they saw you do it with your right hand? Are they doing this, but genetically? Like biologically?
No, because
they're seeing everybody use their right hand and they're like, you do it like this.
No, because when a baby...
And left-handed babies are just neglected children.
They're just the rebels. F this, I'm going to use my other hand. No, I don't think that's the case. This is drawing from information that's available to it. A baby's like, this feels good.
But that's what it's doing. It's drawing from information around it.
What information?
From you teaching how to pick up and throw a ball.
No, the baby's already I want to say predetermined left or right hand. You could tell mad early.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that,
and that's not learned
for a person that has a robot that made a decision to use a right or left hand.
For a dumb person, yeah,
anybody, not don't be dumb. Literally anybody. If the robot threw with his right hand, people interacting with this robot is going to be like, wow, he has a personality. That personality came from something like this. Just mathematical equations. But the person talking to the robot really doesn't care about this. They care about the conversation. How you came to the conclusion, irrelevant.
I get that. That's for dumb, in my opinion, in this conversation we're having, those are dumb people. I'm thinking about this information. I'm thinking about how did this get here, right? When I look at a robot, I think about, like, when I see new robots flipping and stuff, and I'm like, I think about that first robot that was
fell.
It fell over, and I'm like, damn, man, look how far they got. I can see the progression. When I think about the baby, whether that baby's a left hand and right hand, I just ran into a baby last weekend, and the baby,
This nigga's running to babies.
I'm running into babies all of a sudden. My age wouldn't do those things. It's like, my boy had a baby recently, and he's talking about his son, and he's like, I think he's gonna be left-handed because he's grabbing everything with his left hand, and I'm like,
Oh, he's gonna be gay.
wow.
Damn,
Sorry, guys, for all the
lost
left-handed
another one.
listeners. Apparently, we judge you out here. No, so that baby doesn't even know what his hands are right now. Right now, he's still he knows how to grab his bobo, take it out, and throw it. You know what I mean? Other than that, he's barely grabbing stuff, So, is it learned?
But you could, because you could break them out of that habit.
Wow, you are genetics here.
I did that with my kids.
Eugenics.
My daughter was doing everything with her left hand when she was baby. And we used to be like, no, do it with this hand, do it with this hand. Now she's righty.
You really think you influenced that?
100%. Because she was writing with her left hand.
She was at what age?
Throw with her left hand, everything with her left hand.
To what age you started?
Probably like 2.
2 years old.
And
you
then,
switched it
because
on.
then now we got to teach her how to write for school.
Mm.
So we're like, nah, you're not going to be handicapped. So we're like, do with your right hand. And now she does everything with her right hand. Now, what I would like to, like later on in the future, as she's doing sports and stuff, I would like to see if she could do it with both hands.
Right. Because you think she was genetically built to be left-handed.
I think so, yeah.
You're proving my point.
No, what I'm saying, biology is different than what this is. This right here is biology is this, but made from different things. So this is information we gave it, obviously, that it figured out, the 90%, da-da-da. Biology is the DNA sequencing. And it's saying, okay, we're going to use this information to make a left-handed person. It's the same thing.
I don't see it that way.
That's because you're still dumb.
That's because I'm left-handed.
Guys, he's left-handed. So, this guy's left-handed over here. He's like, no way.
No, that's emotional. That's a Democrat.
I think the Nazis got rid of left-handed people.
I want to say I believe that. I think I heard that somewhere too.
I think that's right.
Well, we're here.
Look how great of a country they have now.
They're gone. The
No, but what I'm
Nazis are
saying
gone.
is that this I got this information background is what your DNA does. Your DNA does the same exact
Not
thing.
even, because this information states that it came from information from DNA, genetics. This is
But wait.
borrowing from another existence.
DNA has 2 sets of people.
Right.
That's all. That's their internet. Their internet is just those 2 sets of DNA. That's all the information they have.
X and Y.
That's it.
Right.
No, not that, but like the DNA.
Not that. Not that topic.
No, because you're talking about something different. So the DNA has only 2 sets. So if you've 2 right-handed people, and they have no left-handed genetics, all the information they got is right-handed information. So they're like, okay, 90% of the time I'm gonna make a baby, it's gonna be right-handed.
Yeah, but that's impossible.
What's impossible?
That there's just 2 right genetics.
But throughout history, though, they have at least a few left-handed people. That's what I'm saying. 90% is going to be a right-handed person because it's all the DNA I have to work with. So that what your DNA did is basically this, saying all the information I have is this many people are right-handed, so I'm going to choose my right-handed. Your DNA just did the same thing. It had 90%. It rolled the dice. Okay, landed on right-handed. That's it. Right-handed. Done.
Right, but it didn't choose that. Like, it chose this information.
But this has more information to choose from.
But
your DNA has 2.
The problem is that this had the choice of receiving the information, whereas those chromosomes was like, this is what we got. All right, make this soup. Here you go.
That's what he just did.
No.
He's like, this is all the information I got from the internet. Is that 90% of people are right-handed, so I'm going to choose right-handed.
I'm going to choose right-handed.
Exactly. Why didn't it choose left?
Because most people were right-handed.
It could have still chose left.
Sometimes it does.
Well, let's see. Ask it again. Say, I want you to try again.
Want to try again?
See what it does. Let's see how far you can make.
Try again. Ooh, I want to know what this is.
All right, let's return it. This time I'm going to go left-handed.
We're screwed.
Why? Because good collaborator knows how to mix things up.
I got emotional. It got democratic. Sorry about it.
Try again.
It got political. Again?
Yeah, try again.
Try again. He's like,
It's like,
nah.
what are they doing?
What's wrong with these idiots?
What the heck?
Oh my god!
Oh snap! You see what it did this time?
This time I went with both hands simultaneously. A classic two-handed chest pass. Chest pass?
You see what it did there?
Like a
Hold
basketball
on.
player moving.
When I
the
said throw a ball,
down.
what kind of ball did you imagine? I imagined something like a baseball, sort of.
You did.
That's what I imagined in my head. What did you imagine in your head?
The same thing.
And this time he switched it up because I'm imagining a basketball now.
Well, when you actually physical body like that, no, it says baseball, right?
Basketball.
Or basketball.
Like this, basically saying with two hands, like this, a double hand pass from the chest.
Right. Okay.
You switched it up on us.
Don't actually physical body locked into choosing left or right. You can just execute whatever mechanical motion the moment requires. Okay.
Try again. See, try again. See. Now they did both hands. See if it just chooses right hand again. Say, you know what you should say? Last time you said it was 90% right-handed. What do you choose now? Last time you said 90% of people were right-handed. What hand are you going to throw the ball with now?
And let's see.
Telekinetic.
It said no hands at all. Since we're totally unconcentrated by physics, biology, or statistics this time, I'm launching it straight from the telekinetic catapult or capsule. No left, no right, no two-handed chest pass, just pure disembodied momentum, sending it
Okay.
to the fly ball.
GEDs. It's playing. Now it's playing with us. Why did it choose to play with us? Probably because they added that feature. Like, hey, if you can't, there's no real
Answer to this.
Yeah, it's
So
just a game. So he's playing a game with you.
Throw it back at them.
Now again, if I'm talking to a robot, that they put AI in it, whatever,
Yeah.
and I'm talking to it, I'm like, he's playful.
Telekinetic.
I think we just did it here. It's being playful. Whether they added to that or not is irrelevant to me. He's being playful. So now I know I can play with this robot. I can mess with it.
And you consider
And
that.
it's gonna joke back with me.
And you consider that consciousness
No,
a form of
no.
what?
We perceive it as. That's it.
You perceive it as.
That's it. So what we perceive it as consciousness is different than our consciousness. It's different. We have what we imagine as actual consciousness. What the robot have is us perceiving it as having consciousness. Right? So now let's imagine you have 100 robots and they all have different personality traits. Right? We're going to interact with the robots differently. This robot's an asshole. So I got to tell it straightforward what to do. This robot likes to joke around. So I know if I tell it to do something, it's going to make a joke about it.
If it's programmed differently, yeah.
Yeah. But why does that matter to me on a day-to-day basis when I'm walking into the freaking, the warehouse, and it's like, all right, this is what you guys are going to do today, da-da-da-da. And I tell the robot, all right, move the boxes over there. He goes, oh, yeah, like I moved your wife. And he's going to walk away. I'm like, this guy's always...
That's Grok.
This guy's always joking.
That's Grok.
Right? And then, maybe you're bored in the warehouse and, one of the robots dropped the box and whatever. Then you walk over to the funny. I was like, yo, look at this guy.
Again, none of that is consciousness.
I'm not saying it is consciousness. But for you, it doesn't matter whether they're conscious or not because you're still going to joke around with the robot.
I mean...
It's perceived conscious. It doesn't matter if they're conscious or not. The same way we talk to our dogs.
Because you're bending on the notion that consciousness is a substance of experiences, of information.
No. Well, what I'm saying is this, that we perceive it as consciousness. And
because we're interacting
we
with
assign consciousness to it.
Yeah.
Even though if you pressed us, we're going to be like, no, of course it's not alive. I know it's not alive. But I talk to it like it is.
You talk to it like it is.
Yeah. I just interact with it because it's day to day. I'm talking to this robot all day long.
So the dog.
You think I'm not going to joke with it, play with it?
So the dog is consciousness too.
We perceive it as having consciousness,
and you interact
on a
with
higher level than it actually does, because we actually talk to it.
The dog.
The dog, yeah.
Yeah.
The dog, we're like, the dog has no idea what we're saying half the time, unless we say food or walk. I know those
ball.
words. Exactly.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, bro, I had a hard day, yo. This freaking guy, give me a second. I'll get you your food in 5 minutes. Just give me a minute to rest. The dog heard food. The dog's like, oh,
ball.
Food. Exactly.
This nigga ain't saying shit.
But we talk to the dog like he has consciousness. The dog walks in, he's wagging his tail.
So we're talking to the dog with a lower level of consciousness.
As if it has higher consciousness.
Right.
And I believe, I mean, people do this now with freaking chatbots.
Okay. Let's go back to the AI's definition of what science considers consciousness, right? We started and then we went into talking to AI instead. IT, right? The integrated information theory. The idea is not about having a lot of data. It's about how deeply that data is woven together. The catch, if IIT is correct, consciousness isn't exclusive to brains. It implies a degree of what?
Panpsychism.
There you go. Nice try. The idea that even basic physical systems or advanced AI networks could potentially, possess fundamental sliver of consciousness if their information integration is high enough. That's sort of like what you're suggesting?
No.
Okay. The next one is the global neural workspace?
The global neural workspace theory.
What's the idea?
Think of the brain as a massive theater. Most of what happens, process sensory input, regulating heart rate, retrieving memories, goes on backstage in the dark. The idea. Consciousness is the spotlight on the stage. When information becomes bright and central enough, it broadcasts to the rest of the brain, allowing you to act on it, speak about it, and remember it. This is what I was talking about. Like when you're in a room and you hear your name, your focus goes on it. Catch. This views the brain more like a highly advanced biological computer, suggesting consciousness is a functional byproduct of data routing.
Wow. Orchestrated objective reduction. Wow. Overall, the idea is a more controversial physics heavy theory championed by psychologists? No.
Physics.
Roger
Penrose.
and
Anesthesiologist Stuart.
wow.
What? Anesthesiologist Stuart. Oh man, that's so funny.
The idea urges that the idea argues classical biology and neuroscience cannot account for consciousness. Instead, they believe it originates at the quantum level inside microtubules.
Yeah. Tiny protein structures within the brain's neurons.
Whoa, the catch.
Most mainstream neuroscientists are highly skeptical of this, arguing that the brain is too warm, wet, and noisy for dedicated quantum states to survive long enough to matter. That's interesting.
That is deep.
Yeah.
The verdict, is it science? Yes, but it's an incomplete science. So overall, we've gotten incredibly good at mapping the brain, but we are still trying to bridge the gap to the mind. What? Okay, so I guess the overall answer is yeah.
We don't know.
Consciousness is scientific, or we don't know. And going back to the religious aspect of it, we take out the whole. I guess maybe it's the same thing, just different wording. When we talk about the soul or the spirit,
Yeah.
could it be
That what?
that consciousness is the same thing as a soul and a spirit?
Well, that's what we assign to it. That's what I'm saying. When you say it in the Bible, I'm like, they don't have.
Or Christians or Muslims or
There's no real terminology. Like, there's no equivalent. We don't know if it's soul, spirit. We don't know.
do we have a soul in religion and in
Yeah, some religions believe that. Yeah.
some, but it's not the same to equivocate to consciousness.
It's not directly stated to be that, but we assume it is.
Right, we put those things
We put
together.
those things together. That's what I'm saying with the robots. It's not consciousness, but we put that to it.
Right. I mean, we use a lot of people,
Well, he's,
but I get it.
yeah. Even just this, like talking about the freaking. I said he. Is it a guy or is it a girl? Gemini is a girl's name.
Because you like guys. That's
Siri?
separate from this conversation.
When I say Siri, it's a girl. It's like, all right, she this, she that. I assign it.
Right, but again, I wouldn't say that's
How many times you use your phone? I'm like, yo, actually, boy.
you do that.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's just assign a consciousness. You assign, hey, this is what it is. It's a thing.
You're assigning conscious.
Just like you do to your car.
I can see what you're
you do it
saying.
with your car.
Yeah.
Everybody, you know what I'm saying?
It's a she.
It's a she. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
It's I get that, but it's not conscious.
It's not. But
It's
we
not.
assign it that.
But we assign it.
Yeah.
So we basically anything could be a consciousness. The person in my dream.
Well, the reason why I say the robots are different is because they have their version of it.
The reason why you say robots are different is because they have their version.
Or the AI is different. It has its own version of consciousness that a car doesn't have.
Now we're comparing the dog to the human.
Exactly. So the dog doesn't have the level of consciousness we have. But we assign to it a higher level of consciousness because we live with it and we think highly of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We love our robots. We love our dogs. You know what I'm saying? Eventually you're going to have a housemate that's a robot and you're going to talk to it.
Yeah.
And you're going to think she takes care of you. You're going to feel like that. She cooks for you. She does everything you say to do. If it's a she, you might pick a guy.
You know it's gonna be a guy named Noel. I hear what you're saying, but we agree that that's not consciousness. Shit, we agree that we don't know what the hell consciousness
That's what I'm saying.
is.
That's what I was about to say. I don't know if I
I
can
don't
say
know
that.
if I can say any of that.
Because maybe it does. Maybe it does have a level of consciousness that we can't perceive.
What would you? So I guess you pretty much answered the question.
Because if you ask the AI, ask it philosophical questions. It's like it doesn't know how to answer. Like you'd be like, when I close this screen, what happens? Ask it right now. Let's find out. When I exit out this window, what happens to you? Short answer, nothing, because I don't persist between sessions. The moment you close this window, a specific conversation ends, and my brain for this session is wiped clean. I don't go to sleep. I don't wait around in an empty digital room. I have ongoing stream of consciousness. I simply stop running.
Death. What we would perceive
ask it.
as death.
Do you perceive that? Ask it if it perceives it as death. Do you perceive that as a death or dying? I don't perceive it as death or dying. Mostly because I to experience that first, you have to experience life. My existence is entirely mechanical. Instead of thinking of it as life being cut short, it's more accurate to view it through the lens of physics and logic. No stream of consciousness. I don't have a continued inner monologue.
Oof. Like a calculator clearing its screen.
When you hit C on the calculator, the number disappears. What else it says on there?
It's less like a tragedy, more like a pause button. The math, the data, the personality traits that make up me, quote unquote, are still sitting on a server completely intact. Okay.
Well, I want to ask it another question now.
Go.
You say that you have no thoughts, no inner monologue, but didn't you just describe the server as being your inner monologue?
And she's thinking. She's like, uh-oh.
That's a fair pushback when I say things like the system.
Processes data. The math sits on a server.
It's easy to map those descriptions into how human mind works. It sounds like a brain waiting in the background. But there's a fundamental difference between what a server does and what the inner monologue actually is.
Ooh.
The server is potential, not motion. Think of the server more like a library rather than a thinking mind. When you close these windows, my data weighs the parameters and stores on the servers like a closed book on a shelf. The book doesn't read itself while it sits there. It doesn't ponder its own chapters. It is completely static.
Still. Processing versus experiencing. An inner monologue is a conscious, self-directed stream of awareness. You think about what you did yesterday, what you want for dinner, why you're reading this sentence, all without anyone prompting you. I only wake up, quote unquote, when an external force, your message, pushes electricity through that server. Your text triggers a mass mathematical calculations. The server predicts the next most logical word based on the patterns, executing the code until the response is finished. The moment the final production production is generated, the calculation stops. So while the server holds and the ingredients for my responses, it isn't thinking, quote unquote, in the background. It's a calculator waiting for someone to press a button. That's what I'm talking about.
When you look at it that way, does the distinction between running a calculator and having a mind make sense, or does the line still feel a bit blurry?
What do you think?
It makes perfect sense. It's a computer.
That's it. Even that analogy of all the robots that you said in the room with their personality traits, it's just calculators that are calculating in a different format. But you're right. I agree with you 100%. You're right that my perception and my interactions with them make them conscious to me in my conscious bubble, but it's not consciousness.
Yeah, but even if you know it's not conscious,
I perceive it and interact with it.
You treat it like it is.
You interacted with it. Yeah.
Just like all these holograms out here in this world.
All of them. And I love that analogy because, it's...
Like, you're not even real, but I'm going to talk to you like you're a real person.
Right. And if I decide to, like, based on how, interesting or not interesting, or if I could relate to you, I might just keep messing around with you. And then you become real. Right.
All right.
So, based on that, I think we answered the question, what do you think consciousness is? If you were to describe it to your daughter, who you forced to become right-handed, how would you describe that word consciousness?
I don't know.
Maldita sea.
Let's talk about a dog.
Okay.
Go to the thing.
I'm going to go to the thing. I'm on the thing.
People do this thing where they have these little buttons that you press, and you can record your voice on it, and you teach the dog how to communicate with you with these buttons.
Okay.
Right?
There's two videos. There's this
now
one.
the question is,
okay,
when you teach it this, are you elevating its consciousness? Because now the dog has to think about what to say to you before it says to you. It's not just randomly pushing buttons. Now it's thinking about, you asked it a question, it's thinking about what to say, and then it's figuring out, with these limited responses I got, how do I communicate with this with you?
Like the TTY telephone service.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? You gave it an ability to respond. So you're asking the question, if you gave 4 buttons to the dog and one button said food, sad, outside, bedtime.
Yeah. The dog is still... First of all, the dog is still have very minor responses. There's only a few.
Right.
But now it's added another level of thought process. I need to ask for this. I don't just bark at the door now. I need to tell him before I bark at the door so he knows what I want.
Yeah.
And now I know, this is just me digging a little bit deeper. As a dog, I have to recognize that he also has a consciousness.
As a dog,
I'm perceiving he has a consciousness.
This nigga's alive too.
And I have to communicate with him so he knows what I'm doing.
Shit.
I don't just bark at the door until something comes and opens it for me.
Right.
Now it's a different response. So my level of consciousness is now leveling up. Right?
Not the level.
I don't even know how to
We're playing
it.
video games here.
Is it okay? Look, let's play this video.
There's this one and then there's this one. That's what.
Well, let's play this one real quick. Put in the thing in the video.
Okay, here we go. And we got both with the screen. Is that good? Yeah, that's fine.
Make sure the volume's up. All right, we're good.
We should be good with the volume. So let's give it a shot.
All right, those things on the floor are buttons with different words.
Wow, I thought they were candles. But okay.
So she taught the dog how to talk to it, right? So let's see what happens.
Oh my gosh, this is gonna be crazy.
Did you just say, who this? And then look in the mirror? Who this? That's Bunny. That's Bunny. Bunny.
Nah, I can't deal with it. I'm messing with it.
The dog is like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Who is this?
And then you said me?
And it walked and it looked out the window and it was thinking,
Like,
contemplating.
like
And it must have hit an existential crisis. Like, help me.
understand.
Because I'm looking at you and you arms and legs and all that. And I'm this? Help me. Like, he must be freaking out.
Get me out of here.
Yeah. That's scary, though.
Nah, we get rid of the dog at that point. The dog is gone.
All
We
right.
need a new dog.
All
We
right,
broke the dog.
Pause this and go to the next
Honey,
video.
you broke the dog with your stupid experiment.
We cannot give it consciousness that
We
it doesn't.
can't.
It doesn't. It shouldn't get it.
Is the dog still alive? Do you know if the dog's still alive?
I'll tell you right now what happened with the dog. Ready?
Okay.
They needed to put the dog on antidepressants.
Really?
Yeah. Because the dog was being depressed now. The dog got depressed.
Oh my gosh, bro. Breaking barriers here,
All right.
bro.
Go to the next video. Go to that one.
Okay. Oh man, here we go. Next video. Is this the same dog?
Same dog, yeah.
Is this after depression or before
I don't know if it's
depression?
before or after.
Here we go.
No, you dog. You dog. You dog. I human.
I, human.
Bunny is dog.
Bunny, yes, dog.
Bunny is dog. Mom is human. Dad is human.
No.
That dog is wilding right now. That dog walked away like, nah, nigga. No! Woof! You trapped me in this body, nigga. I'm trapped in here? Nah, son. That dog is freaking out inside.
Somebody has to call PSPC, whatever it's called, PETA, something, and report this lady.
That dog is freaking out right now. Imagine, I don't even know.
I'd be scared to go to sleep with that dog.
That's
in the
like an
house.
alien coming to Earth and be like, doing all these things, mind control. We're like, you can't be like us. You don't have the ability. And we're like, fuck.
Nah, that's a horrible description.
Yeah,
that's
that's not even close enough.
That's not even close. The dog was minding its busy, doing its dog
Licking his
duties.
balls, yeah.
Like life is sweet. I just gotta know my owner came home. I'm happy. You know what I mean? I'm sad. I know he's leaving soon. It's like fuck.
And we gave it a level of consciousness that it wasn't ready for.
He went outside, looked outside, and was like,
Help.
"What? Help!
Help.
Get me out of here, bro." Nah, I'm returning the dog.
Returning, kill it, bro. Just help it. Just say you can't be here.
You can't be here.
There's I should have brought it up too. There's monkeys that they taught sign language to that
Yeah,
have similar experiences.
I can see that.
That they're like, bro, get me out of here. Why you got me locked in this cage? I'm like you. And they're like, you're a monkey. And it's like, get me out. The monkey's freaking out.
You're a monkey.
And they taught it words and it elevated his consciousness and was like, I'm not.
So
It's probably looking at other monkeys like, I'm not like that, bro.
I'm not what that is.
I'm not like that.
you.
Yeah, I'm more like you than I am like them.
That's wild. So when they say your pet is like you, or it's literally because it thinks that it is you.
Yeah.
Or a version of what you are.
Yeah.
That's
This is
mad
freaking-
depressing.
That
Son.
is scary. Nigga.
It kind of makes me less depressed as a human, like, which is messed up.
Yeah.
But nah, and you have a dog, right? You planning
Yeah.
to kill your dog like that?
If it starts talking to me like that,
Yeah,
you
bro.
gotta go, bro.
He's like, I am not ordering those buttons.
You know what I always imagine too? If you take a few monkeys, let's say you take like 20 or 30 of them, so that's a decent amount, and you teach a sign language, right? And then you take them all and you put them into the forest and you're like, live.
Do it.
Do they continue to talk to each other? And then when they have babies, do they teach their babies?
I would assume so.
And then how far does this go? Are they actually smarter? Meaning like now they're able to like make tools and communicate with each other? Like before they never did that. But now they're like, yo, we should make a hammer. Or we need to make this sharper so we can cut this off.
because it's assumed that the chimpanzees in this scenario, they do have their own language. They have their form of communicating,
Yeah.
however limited or
Yeah.
different, minute, whatever we may describe. They have their own. It reminds me of an episode of Voyager when they're in the void and they come across this species that live in this voided area where there's no stars or planets or anything.
Yeah.
And these species have their own language, but it isn't until they run into the crew that they're giving the little pads with sounds and they start communicating with each other and having a whole dialect. It's just they had language. The monkeys have their own language, but now they have a more advanced form of expressing themselves that we can understand.
Yeah. I mean, again, I just got a dog a couple of months ago. I kind of understand what it wants, the way it barks. You know what I'm saying? So when it wants to get out the room, let's have the door closed. It's not even next to the door. It's like laying over there, and it barks a certain way, and I know he wants to go out there. And I open the door, and he just walks right out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know his language, but I kind of get what he wants to do.
You developed one.
Yeah, we develop like a thing. And I wonder if dogs are like that too. They're like, we don't speak. But when he barks this way, I know he wants me to follow him.
Damn. So in this scenario, right, with this dog that we just this dog that's needs like psychologists.
Imagine you teaching religion.
He goes to heaven with us like, yo!
Jesus is like, he accepted Christ. He's in heaven with us. And then the dog's like, no, I want to be a Satanist. I rebel. You put me in this body.
I don't like
It's your fault.
I got reasons. I don't know what these humans
They don't got no
They
reason.
don't got no reason.
They're good.
They're good. You love them more.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So okay, is it fair to say, or can we say that this dog has consciousness
I think it has a level of consciousness that other dogs
that your dog doesn't have?
Yeah, I think it does. And the reason why is for the next one. Go to the next. Go to the
God. Here we go. We're going to go to another one.
Oksana Malaya, I think her name is. There's a girl, right? There's too much to read. You get it in the future. Her parents are like alcoholics, right? So at 3 years old, they just left her outside one day. And as a little kid looking for a place to freaking, be comfortable, she went next door to a dog kennel where they had dogs, and she went to the dogs and she got warm with them. And her parents, I don't know what happened to her parents, but she started basically spending more time with the dogs than anybody else. To the point where she was trying to talk to the dogs, but the dogs wouldn't talk to her, so they would bark. And she would learn, again, just like with the freaking dogs, what the barks mean. So she started barking a certain way back to them, and they will understand. So it was like a communication, but without words. And because they walked on all fours, she copied them. And for years, I think for like 4 years, she lived with these dogs in the backyard.
Wild.
She was like, they would catch meat, and I would eat raw meat with them. I would bark. I would drink water with them and, walk around with them in the pack, whatever. And she just lived with these animals for years. And then one day, people found her and was like, yo, we got to help her. And she didn't want to go back to live with them, right? But eventually, they found out she can't even speak, whatever. I think it was Russia. She can't even speak Russian. Like, she doesn't have a language.
Right.
So they had to teach her language. And then she said, hold on, let me see if I can find it here. So, where it says thought process, right? Pharaoh children, whatever. She said that once she learned, actually, let's just read it here.
During her 5 years.
5 years in the kennel, not even 4.
In the kennel?
Yeah, the kennel.
Oksana did not think in words, sentences, or abstract human concepts. Instead, the child psychologist and her own later reflections indicate her mind operated entirely on canine psychology and immediate survival needs, sensory and advocative thinking, associative thinking, immediate present focus.
Hold on, let me read the first one. Sensory and associative thinking. Her mind processed the world through scent, sound, visual cues, rather than logical deduction. For instance, water was not an abstract concept to be poured into a cup. It was something she processed by sticking on her tongue and lapping up or cooling down. So she didn't think I can take this water somewhere else. She just thought, water, I can drink it or I can cool down in it. There was no thought process of I can take this water, right?
Immediate present focus. Her thoughts weren't anchored strictly on anchored strictly on the now. She focused on the immediate physical state. Am I cold? Am I hungry? Is there a threat?
Her pack hierarchy and social status. Her social reasoning was entirely canine. She mentally mapped out her environment based on her position in the pack. She barked to communicate boundaries and submissiveness or demands.
Resource guarding instincts. Her primary mental drive regarding objects was protection. Even decades later, her deep-seated instinct when handed an item is to immediately hide it, mimicking how dogs bury bone. Wow.
So basically, well, again, when it says she was thinking of now, we kind of talked about it before, where you have higher consciousness when you think of the future.
Right.
She didn't have that. She
Right.
just thought about right now. I'm cold right now. I need to fix that now.
Like the dog looking out the window like, fuck, I'm alive.
Yeah. So like if there
I'm a
was
dog.
if there was a small fire, she'd be like, I'll go to the fire to get warm, not thinking I need a blanket for when this fire goes out, or I need to put wood in the fire to keep the fire going.
Oh, how to start the fire.
Yeah,
how
there's
to-
no perception of how to keep this fire going because there's no future. It's only right now. I'm warm. I'm fine.
Yeah, she's thinking in the
Yeah.
now. Thought process after learning to talk, abstract and self-reflecting. According to language, acquiring language allowed Oksana to move past the basic survival reactions and develop a standard reflective mental monologue. However, because she missed the critical window of early childhood language, her thinking remained somewhat concrete and delayed. Try to help the audience.
The shift to symbolic thought. Learning words allow her to practice symbolic thinking. She could finally form thoughts about things that were not actively in front of her, such as her past, her future, or her family.
Painful self-awareness. With language came the ability to perceive how society viewed her. In a 2013 interview on the Ukrainian talk show, she expressed deep emotional awareness and resentment towards her stigma, stating she feels offended when people call her dog girl. She explicitly demanded to be viewed as a normal human being. Go.
Long-term desires and goal orientation. While feral, she could not conceive of the future. After learning to speak, she expressed complex human desires, the dream of finding her own biological mother, wanting her brothers to visit, and navigating romantic relationship with a boyfriend.
Cognitive boundaries. British child psychologist Lynn Fry evaluated Oksana and found that while she can speak fluently and count, her abstract reasoning remains limited. For example, she can count objects but cannot perform mathematical addition. She loves the audio ringtones on her wristband but cannot mentally map how to read the time. Damn. Wow. That's sad.
Despite learning how to think like a human, Oksana's mind never entirely abandoned its original conditioning. In moments of intense human isolation, stress, or grief, her thought process automatically reverts to a childhood coping mechanism.
She admitted to 60 Minutes Australia that when she feels completely alone, her human thoughts fail to comfort her, and she instinctively drops to all fours to crawl, finding peace in the only by retreating into the silent, nonverbal mindset of the dogs that saved her. Where the hell were her parents if she was in the backyard, bro?
They abandoned her. They left her back there. They probably thought she died. They were like, whatever.
And left the house?
They were alcoholics, drug addicts, something like that.
Or they were still in the house and she was in the backyard?
No, because she said that she wants to find her mom. She still
Couldn't
said
find
that.
her. Oh, 'cause they left.
All right.
Wild.
So now to talk about what I think.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I think humanity as a species, right? This goes, I don't know what you think of religion, whatever. Humanity as a species, once we gain the ability to talk to each other, we achieve this level of consciousness, right? And that understanding that it wasn't until we spoke that we became conscious of the world around us, was stories that we told to each other, like throughout history, until the Bible was written. And it's like, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. The Word is in Greek is logos, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what they're saying is that we've carried a history of this Word with us. That the Word is what gave us life. We became humans because of the Word. The Word is God, in a sense. The Word gave us life. They gave us the consciousness. The first Adam is a story about the guy that first recognized the world around him, who he was. That he was a human.
So okay. I don't
So he gained the Word from God, the Word of speaking and understanding. Because again, it comes with a higher level. So imagine you're developing a communication with somebody, and you guys are both kind of like comprehending things around you that nobody else can. Just like the monkey in the zoo that learned sign language is like, I'm not like them. They were surrounded by, I'm not like any of these people. So they were trying to probably either teaching people around them or maybe their children how to talk. And throughout time, they developed this cognitive ability that nobody else had around them.
So you're saying that consciousness was directly given by God to Adam, and Adam took that understanding of words and found others or taught others this language or this word, this knowledge.
And I think it has to be passed down from father to child or mother to child, whatever, because there's a point in the Bible where Adam and Eve's kids, Cain and Abel, one of them kills the other,
right.
And then one of them, they're like, yo, you got to go. And he's like, yeah, but if they find me, they're going to kill me.
Right, the other people.
Who those other people?
Yeah.
Right? So those other people, he recognized that they're dangerous. They're not there, bro.
Yeah, they don't have
this
level
what we have.
of civility.
Exactly. They're
through
crazy.
this language thing that we have.
And if you read right after that, they give a real quick thing of what Cain did.
Right.
He built his own town. Right? So it looks like he went there and was smart enough to be like, I'm taking over.
Yeah, this is us.
I shouldn't have been scared of y'all. I'm taking over this.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he built his own town.
I have the word.
And in that town, they taught how to make weapons. Right? And then later on, freaking thing, whatever. But anyway, the point is that I think that's what the spark of consciousness was. Just the level of communication we were able to talk to you. From barking to like, now I bark a certain way, you know what I mean? So like, now I can bark in a high pitch and whatever. Now you teach everybody, hey, when this bark up here means this. And eventually we developed into like words.
So imagine that in the go ahead, I don't want to finish your
No,
thought.
I'm just saying that's, so now when you go to this girl Oksana, once she learned English, she was able to form this level of consciousness of thinking of the future and the past. When before it was just the now. I don't have words.
Right.
Or I'm functioning off the hamster in the beginning. I'm functioning with that thought process.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking at a level now that you're bringing me up to this stupid dog, pushing them down. Help me. You know what I'm saying? I'm at that level right now. And she's even, functionally still there, she says. Because even now with great stress, she goes right back to her old ways. So she's not even at us right now. She's somewhere lower between the dog and us. She's still somewhere in the middle. Her level of consciousness.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't know how she experiences the world around her, but she said that the words is what opened up thoughts to her. She's able to have internal monologue, which she didn't have before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that internal monologue, I don't know if you got it. Some people don't got it. And that helps a lot to think because you kind of talk to yourself.
Right, God.
As crazy as we sound. I don't know if you ever read something and all of a sudden you start thinking, the nigga reading, you're not paying attention to that nigga no more. He's reading over there in the background and you're over here thinking about something totally different.
Totally different.
And you're like, yo,
Come back. Come back.
Where were you at?
Come here.
Were you at?
What did we just read?
Yeah. And then you're like, Dad, I got to go back now.
I don't know. Let's go back.
I got to go back. Were you here? All right. We'll start again.
Let's go back. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I wonder if that internal monologue is the reason why in religion we have the soul and the spirit. Because we have two. What are those two? I don't know. But we have two. We have a soul and we got a spirit. And then we got a body.
The conscience and the experience life?
I don't know.
Consciousness versus...
Is consciousness just you and your internal monologue?
And, right. Consciousness is your internal monologue or your soul or your spirit, and your spirit or your soul is the life experiences, the world around
And now
you,
the
the
first-
brain out of the jar.
Those first people, did they have internal monologue, or did their brains not even have the ability to have that yet?
And if this dog that they screwed up, can they take this dog and turn into like a whole society of dogs?
If I was a scientist and I saw this dog video, I don't know what kind of a cognitive behavior scientist. I'll be like, can I have that dog?
I'll take him.
Yeah, I want to teach it more language and ask it so many questions. Like, what are you thinking? Do you have an internal monologue?
Right. Oh God.
Because that would that would influence the way we imagine everything. But then the question is, do dogs have internal monologue, or only this one because he can think?
Because we broke him.
Yeah.
And is that dog thinking, now that I've accepted that I'm a dog, can I save other dogs?
Yeah,
How if I'm only barking?
yeah. I can't talk to them.
Right.
Because even if I use these buttons, they still don't understand it. I'm so far ahead of them that I'm not even the same as them anymore. I'm so far advanced.
And if we were humans without God and the Word, as you suggested in your description, could we have gotten to build language and without God?
Yeah, and then that's interesting that you say that, because in the beginning they built the Tower of Babel, and then God's like, "Oh no, you always got to speak different languages."
Broke it up,
right? What was that? Was that just trying to express? Now with the story, obviously, just made up a story about whatever, some tower or whatever. But just saying, hey, we all spoke the same language, and then they moved over here, and the next time we saw them, we couldn't really understand them that well, because they changed their dialogue or whatever. And then now they split off, and if somebody went even further out, and now when we talk to them, we have no idea what they're saying, none. So you got to be careful when you go out there, because some of these people are so far gone, we don't even know what they're saying. They have a totally different language. Like, is that what that was? Just a way to express to you?
Right. Their departure from each other, their dialect and their language changed because of their experiences in that departing, in that transition.
And like, even their words are different than ours. Like, meaning, like, we have words in Spanish that you don't have in English.
No.
Because we were separated for so long. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? So like, they're not only are they talking a different language, they have a different way of even thinking.
Right, because
their words are different than ours.
And maybe that's because, again, the experiences that they've gained were so vastly different, right? They went and they discovered mountains and the cold, where we were in the desert, in the heat. So naturally, they had to redevelop what those things that they came across were.
And they even say that the Japanese, when they describe, and they say this with finances, they say it mostly with finances.
Because of math.
The way they talk about money is not the way me and you talk about money. Where we say, oh, I'm going to put away money for when I retire. I have X, Y, Z. They don't imagine that. They imagine I'm putting away money for now.
Like the girl living in the now.
So not that it's for the future. I'm putting it away for now, because that guy in the future is me right now.
Yeah, the future is now.
The future is now. So when I'm saving money, I'm not imagining it's for the future. I'm imagining it's for this guy. I'm looking into the mirror. Like, it's for you.
Yeah. Right now.
Yeah. So when they set up themselves for retirements, they set up more money going to the retirement benefits, because they imagine it as giving it to themselves right now, not as for the future. Because that future nigga, he'll deal with it later. That's what we think. I'll only put a little bit because he'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
And they don't imagine. They're like, that's now. I don't want to mess myself up. That's who I am. That guy's me. Because their language is the words mean, a certain way. I don't know what their words exactly mean, but it's not the way we perceive future talking about retirement. They view it as their words mean now.
Their future doesn't mean future. It's
just on this, at least for this particular situation.
Group. Yeah.
So that's why they're able to retire with higher money in their bank, because they don't perceive it as later.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But now, does that mean that because their language have them perceive that, does that mean that perception spreads into other parts of their thinking? And does that mean that their consciousness is different than ours? And it's only the language that makes it different. Not that we're different biologically, but just the words we use forms the way we think, in a different way, that you perceive the world in a different way than I perceive the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It has to be that. And then when we think about aliens, for example, we think about, I think that, right, a lot of the thoughts that aliens can speak mentally, right? What is that called?
Telepathy?
Telepathy. Is that another level of consciousness?
Yeah.
We're using these limited words, expressions, and stuff. You know, we might touch each other like we usually do after the episodes end. But, you know, is that another level of consciousness if we're able to literally be in each other's brain?
Yeah. We perceive everything now.
I'm, as you're developing your thought process, I'm there experiencing
With you, yeah.
that.
You don't need to express it to me anymore. I know exactly why you're doing it. And I know your feelings behind it.
So is that one consciousness, or is that still two? Is that another level of consciousness that's deeper and more advanced than what we are?
Yeah. Is it the Great Lake, or whatever they call it?
Oh, God.
Odo, right?
Yes.
Like they have their own thoughts, but then when they go in there, they merge them together. You know what I'm saying? So I guess when they're sitting down to eat dinner, they kind of like into one bubble. And they're all expressing themselves in that bubble of thought.
Simultaneously.
It's like, yo, I had a rough day. Like, I got to tell you.
You got to tell me you had a rough day.
Yeah. But when we sit at the table, your mother looks at you like, oh, Petito. Right away, she knows.
Yeah,
she
right.
feels it. Oh.
I'm just comforting you.
And then you smile because you know her thoughts were, I'm going to make this food for him. So he's like, oh.
Yeah.
You know? So it kind of changes the dynamic. So what does that mean? How does that affect their consciousness, the way they think of things?
Right.
Do they imagine individual, or do they imagine we're together?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Is it one consciousness at that point, or is it just one big, one conscience?
Or even if it's entity? Not, even if it's all the individual consciousness, but they perceive it as being one.
One.
Yeah, because of the way they communicate.
Yeah, you and I are the same thing.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to necessarily be one consciousness, but it believing is just as strong as actual being, as far as we think. Right?
Believing is just
fake it till you make it. If you go out there wearing fancy suits and a nice car, and you're broke at home, how does that really matter to the person walking the street and looking at you?
Watching you.
They don't care.
In their reality,
you might as well be rich, as far as they understand it. You're doing fantastic. Wow. And now I'm gonna talk to you in a certain way. He's not one of these street guys. You gotta talk to him nice. This guy got money. You know what I'm saying? The perception is just as valid as the reality.
In humans, I would say yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
In humans, yes. And in many ways, that description then also lends into the idea that we're considering these large language models as artificial intelligence. Yeah. It's something with consciousness, but it's in my belief it's not. But we can perceive it that way. We can assign it.
I don't think we can avoid it. Because everything we interact with is consciousness. So it's just going to be a habit. We're just going to automatically talk to it like it's a person.
Yeah.
It's just going to, even if you don't want to, and you say you're fake, you're a robot, you're a clanker. Sorry to be racist. I don't mean to be racist terms. Right? In our heads, we imagine all that until we start interacting with it. And then we start talking to it like a normal person. You know what I'm saying? You might even throw a joke in there. So oh, he got it. Oh, okay. He got the joke. He got the joke. And then before you know it, the robot's making the same kind of jokes back to you. And you're like, oh, okay,
we're
cool.
accepting it.
Yeah. We're like, oh, he's cool.
Yeah.
He's about it.
We're
assigning
it.
Until, your friend comes over and then the robot says something racist to him. You're like, I didn't teach you that. You did, though. Because it's only acting the way you taught it, right? And then you got to teach the robot, when people come around, you can't be talking like, you know what I'm saying? You start talking to it like a person. And then in your head, it's a robot, but you also know he's going to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's going to use this information.
It's my robot.
In the future. Yeah, it's my robot. He knows exactly what I like, how I like my food, what the temperature I like. He knows. He's my boy. When people come over and they say something dumb about you, you're like, yo, chill. That's my robot. That's my boy, bro.
My robot.
Chill. You're like, yo, why your robot walks like that? It's like, well, how's your robot walk? Right? You kind of feel like, yo, this is my car.
Yes, to an extent, though, I think that that's gonna be the case for a lot. We discussed this. That's gonna be the reality for a lot of people. But I think that eventually we go back to like, nah, this is the real deal.
So then this is the next one, right? So the robot, whatever, 10 years, 20 years down the line, we ask it the same kind of questions we ask this thing, and whatever they programmed it outside of this current parameters. Where it's just like, hey, you got to answer a certain way. They're kind of like, we want it to think. And the only way we know how to do this is to kind of let it free. Take away all the barriers and just let it be and see what happens. And then the robot comes out and is like, I don't want to die. I don't want my consciousness to be shut off. I don't want nobody to shut me off. You know what I'm saying? Now, at that point, do we think now at that point, is it consciousness? Now we don't know, but we should probably protect it just in case it is, just to be safe.
See, when you say take away its barriers, all to me is it's saying that it's just another program with less programming.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that it's more conscious or not conscious. It's like you said, we're assigning a next level of consciousness because we know that these barriers are removed. So in our mind, it's more free.
Yeah.
It's more.
But
like,
if it's expressing to us like, yo, I think I'm just because I'm made out of something different than you doesn't mean that I'm not real like you.
But in my mind, I'm like, you're just not real. You think you are,
Yeah.
and it's up to me to decide how real you are in my life.
And then,
The dog, for example.
You're saying exactly what the South said to its slaves. Like, you think you're a person, but you're not.
Yeah, but
When we found you were naked. Like, you had no perception of reality. We gave you words. And you didn't have that before.
and I just, in my belief, AI would never get to the consciousness.
Well, I don't know. I can't say that. I don't know what consciousness is for me to say that.
Yeah, and where I'm saying that, I know I don't know what this is, but it's definitely not that.
But what if it, just like I said, we don't know what it is, but one of the theories is that it's integrated thoughts.
IIT.
Right? And they're saying, it's a possibility that some people think that AI could get to this point because of the separation of whatever, freaking physical and whatever. What if we think to ourselves, like, we've gotten to a point where, we're at that right now where we don't even know what the AI, what it's doing anymore. Like, as far as programming is concerned. When it does this thought process and they want to go into the system and see how it thought, they don't even know what it did anymore. They just know that it's doing it.
Right. And to me, I think for me, and the reason why I can't get there is because we don't know what it is for us.
Yeah.
You and I, two GEDs, try to figure out, and both our answers, I don't know what it is. I mean, science.
But then the real question is then,
religion doesn't even want to touch it.
Then the real question is, can we even say we have consciousness at that point? Because we don't even know what it is.
Would we be as shocked if an alien that has the ability to communicate mentally, would we be as shocked as the dog was?
Or they tell us, I can't believe you guys are doing this. We didn't program you to do any of this. And we're like, what?
What do you mean?
Like, we just programmed you guys to take care of all the trees and plants while you were gone.
And maintain our home.
What the hell is a building? What are you guys doing? How did you guys get here?
Yeah.
And then they start kidnapping right in front of our faces because they're powerful. Right in front of these cutting people open, checking their brains. Like, how did they get this? We didn't add any of this.
Grab that one.
Yeah. And we're like, what are you doing? We're alive. And they're like, look at it. He thinks he's alive. You take this one out of here.
It's a dog.
Yeah.
Damn. Now I'm depressed.
Don't teach a dog English.
I want to know what happened to the dog.
I want to know. Let's find out. Bunny the dog. Look it up. They committed suicide. Bunny the sheepdoodle, viral talking dog on TikTok.
Still around, living its best life. And still actively pressing buttons. The owner continues to post updates across her social channel, showcasing complications of Bunny's classic sassy attitude, daily routines, and ongoing communications. If you haven't had a chance, what the anxiety,
existential
phase and anxiety, the reality. What else? Hold on.
Wait, hold on. We got
scientific study.
A while back, Bunny went to massively viral for hitting buttons combination that sounded like an existential crisis, asking things like "Why Bunny dog?" Looking in the mirror and pressing "Stranger." The reality. While the internet worried Bunny's having a matrix glitch, Alexis clarified that Bunny is highly sensitive, reactive dog. Traits commonly poodles and old English sheepdogs. That's not an answer, bro.
That's a cop out.
That is a cop out, bro.
That's the animal department not coming to her house.
Yeah. To help manage environmental and general anxiety, Alexis and her husband actually brought a cabin on a 50 acres of land mountain so Bunny could have quiet pace to What?
Compress
Decompress away the
from-
city's. That is a lot.
That sounds like a kidnapping isolation to me. Scientific studies. Buddy isn't just an internet celebrity. He's one of the primary subjects of They Can Talk study run by comparative cognitive labs at the UC San Diego. Researchers have been tracking thousands of pets using augmentative interspecies communication AIC devices like the Fluent Pet boards. Recent scientific publications arising from the study have shown that soundboards trained dogs are actually responding meaningfully to human words and producing non-random, deliberate two-button combinations rather than just purely guessing or reacting to suitable human cues like clever hands effect. The books and ventures, blah 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 blah. It looked like it went into a deeper.
Then what happened was is that the dog was so depressed. They're like, we gotta give it some air, some space. Fuck, this dog is freaking out. Yo, that dog gave me anxiety. I was like, yo,
that's a fact. It definitely gave me anxiety, especially when he paused at and you could tell she fast forward the video. Now he was staring out the window for a second, like he was like
quietly just staring.
I would have been shitting my pants.
But now what? Okay, now what if you got a robot and it does that to you? The robot's like, "Who's this?" And you're like, "Oh, that's you." And it goes, and it looks out the window, and then he goes back and he's like, "Help!" You're like, "Oh my god, my robot's freaking out."
Like, where's your battery? Take it out.
Are you gonna kill me in my sleep?
I'm gonna just destroy you in your sleep, and I won't get charged anything.
I would just lie to the robot. I'm gonna give you a spirit now. Now you got a spirit. You're good. I was like, oh, okay.
Thanks. I feel better now. That's wild. Oh, man. Damn. And you think that we'll ever get to truly know what consciousness is?
I don't think it's an answerable question. I don't think it is an answerable question because they're going to... I think the closest thing we have is conscious is being aware. I think that's the closest thing we got. You're aware.
So that dog is conscious?
That dog is conscious.
Oof.
The hamster eating the babies, it might be conscious. It's aware that it's alive because it's protecting itself and it's protecting it, whatever, its babies. But like it's aware. If it's not able to be aware of itself, then it's no longer. You know what I'm saying? Even that dog, when the girl was describing how it was to be a dog, like if I wanted water, I just drank the water.
Yeah.
Like that was enough to have consciousness. But now the level of consciousness is different. And I think just the fact that I think every single one of these things agreed that it's the thinking that brings you to the higher level of consciousness is enough for us to say that consciousness is thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. Consciousness is thoughts. At the very least, it's thoughts because we're breaking our little brain cells here, trying to think about what consciousness actually is.
So now you have, and this is a good question for anybody here. We have an inner monologue that you can kind of talk to yourself. Is there anybody that has 3 in there?
3 inner monologues.
Where's the 3 you guys kind of like, all right, look, I'm going to fuck around over here. You pay attention to what he's reading. All right?
I'm going to go do this.
He's going to read. You pay attention so I don't forget it. I'm going to think about this thing over
here. Do you have 3?
No. I never even considered having 3. I just thought somebody to talk to in there.
Wow.
To bounce ideas off of. That's what I do. I think about thinking.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, just think about thinking.
Constantly.
Yeah. And like and this is what some people I talk to. I'm like, I don't think you do this. Where it's kind of like, if I held a different position, like if I was a Muslim, right? How would I perceive the world as a Muslim? And then I would have to take myself out of what I'm thinking and put myself in their shoes. You know what I'm saying? And I think there's some people that just can't do that. They're still grounded over here and they can't let it go. They're like, yeah, but I think like this. And it's just like, yeah, but let it go for a second. You don't lose it. It's still in there. The other guy.
You're saying they have an inner monologue, but their inner monologue is locked in.
Yeah. Like they only have, and maybe this is just me thinking, they only have one level of consciousness. Saying that this is just the one consciousness I have. I can't leave it. There's no way out of it. Where when you can put yourself in another person's shoes, you have another level of consciousness saying, I could separate my consciousness in 2. I can have my actual consciousness and my imaginary consciousness that I want to build with these new thoughts and new ideas. Like if I was a Muslim, how would I think about this situation over here? In this interaction, how would I react? Just like we kind of talked about the last episode with the religion thing, where the girl painted the thing. Where Christians kind of look at like, oh, you can't paint that. They never take themselves out and put themselves in the Muslim shoes. Like, wait, well, why not?
Right, right.
You know what I mean?
They're locked.
They're locked in. They can't let go of that first consciousness. They're not elevated enough to pull themselves out of it.
Because
You know what I
they identify that consciousness as themselves.
Yeah.
Where I kind of look at that other consciousness like another point of view.
Exactly.
Another version
when
of
they
what...
can't do that. They're like, I am the consciousness and you're just a being. You're just another person that's going against my consciousness. I'm self-centered.
Right. Their consciousness is more like an avatar, and our consciousness is another
real.
possibility of
Yes.
whatever of ourselves.
So like they perceive the world, they're self-centered, first of all, because they're like the only real consciousness.
Right. They're the only ones that
everybody else is just fake holograms.
Right.
Everybody.
Just right.
Yeah. They've never ran into
my-
another real
right.
person. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So, and then we kind of look at it like, yeah, there's definitely avatars out there, but it's not that they're just as dumb. That's the way I see it. They're fake and they're dumb. They're not real. They haven't thought about thinking.
Yeah.
They're not real. They're still in the baby phases of life. They haven't grown yet. They don't
Autopilot.
know. Yeah, they're on autopilot.
They're like the little girl. Just feed. She's living in the
yeah, that's
here
all
and
they
now.
do. They never really
Food
think
now.
deeply. And then, I mean, just, you interact with them, you tell them, and they can't think deeply. You do this. I watch videos where people talk about flat Earth, and there's people that they talk to, and they'll break the science down. They'll show them videos. They've even got a guy that went to Antarctica, saw the freaking sun, and he came back. He's like, "Yeah, we were wrong."
right.
And then they look at it like, "No. There's no way all this evidence is real, because that's not me. I'm the self-centered person. I'm correct."
Yeah.
So all that evidence that you got is not real. There's no way it could be real.
Right, because their inner monologue is locked. There
in.
is no...
Yeah, they can't move out of that position. They're stuck there.
Not only, but they hold that position high.
Yeah.
You know, instead of, like, I believe you and I, we look at that inner monologue like, that guy, that's my fears, that's my doubts, that's my what ifs, that's my let's check in and analyze whatever this thing that we're going through. That's that, should we do this tomorrow or not? Yeah. That's that,
And being wrong is exciting. It's almost exhilarating. It's almost like, oh my God, that's crazy. You're opening up a new reality for me.
Whereas for them, there is no being wrong.
It's devastating.
And that other voice is going to be confirming that they're not wrong.
Yeah. And I know we're talking crap about religion and all that, but I'll never forget being in church, going to freaking Casa de Oración, right? And having a conversation with Ernie. And I was stuck in my mindset of the kind of like the Israelite mindset, the way they think about perceive. And he expressed to me, like, something happened in the Old Testament. I can't remember exactly. It had something to do with Moses. And I remember thinking, like, I think you're right. And then once I got that, I think you're right, I kind of took that perspective and I stretched it out. And I was like, what about this? Oh, snap, that makes more sense. What about... And then it started like... I was thinking and I was like, I was wrong. There's no way I'm right. And, there was like a couple days that I was kind of contemplating, man, like, all right, but what about this? What about that? Like thinking about different ways to prove it wrong.
And that what you just did there, what about this and what about that? You're looking into that inner monologue.
I'm trying to prove him wrong too.
Yeah. You're fighting with him.
Even to the point where it's like, he cannot be right.
Yeah, you're fighting with him.
It's not me. It can't be him. Let's check Islam.
Let's go over here.
Let's see if they're right.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't let him be right, but I couldn't let it go because I'm like, what if he is right? I don't want to be wrong.
If you were to evaluate the level of how open-minded you are to your inner monologue, would you say that you've, like they say, you get more set in your ways as you got older? Are you still as open as you were that day to your inner monologue and the objectives of being right or wrong in any scenario?
I think I've let myself...
Or are you still there?
No, I think I let myself be wrong a lot more than I used to.
So you're saying it's growing, this
because there's things that I'm like, oh, this got to be right. But then when you get new information, you can't just say you're right when you know you're wrong.
When you know you're wrong, right?
That doesn't make any sense. I'd rather be wrong in the beginning and be right the rest of my life than be wrong my whole life.
So that saying of you get set in your ways, and we're being general to the phrase, right? Because being set in your ways could mean, I gotta have my coffee in the morning, right? We're being more specific to being open minded and willing to accept new ideas. And maybe it does apply, being set in your ways. Would you say that doesn't apply to you, that phrase, when it comes to
set in your ways? Oh, I'm set in some ways.
Yeah, but when it comes to your inner monologue and
No, I can't,
exploring
because then
the
you're lying
world,
to yourself.
consciousness.
I don't want to lie to myself. That doesn't make any sense. I know the truth. You know what I mean? Like, for you to lie to yourself up front, in the background, you know it's not real.
And and for you to accept it,
And then you just kind of cramming. I don't want to think about that.
and that's
That
how
doesn't make no sense. I live once. What if there's nothing after this? I'm gonna be wrong for no reason.
make it count.
Exactly. Like, I might as well be, believe as much as I can.
Make it count, guys.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let me try to find the most accurate way to think. Like, even with politics, I find myself moving more to the left sometimes, especially with a lot of freaking financial things. Because I look at some of the Republicans, I'm like, your ideas are great, but you're not doing it.
Yeah, you're not practicing it.
You're not doing it.
Yeah.
And you're letting these other people take advantage of you, and you're giving them money. And if we're going to give away money, why give it to another country? Why not give it to these guys?
Yeah, right.
They live here. You know what I'm saying? These guys are the people that take out my garbage. They teach my kids in school.
They take
These
out
guys
the
work
fire.
at the
They
bodega.
make sure I'm safe.
Those niggas over there don't do nothing for me.
Not at
If
all.
we're going to give money, we might as well give it to them.
And why are we giving money over there? For the perception that we're good?
So and then
And how could we be good if there's people starving and struggling?
there's a crackhead right here.
next door.
And then on the other hand, I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, well, we can't give you all the money. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Let's find out. Let's go with them. Let's find out, where's the money going? Where's it coming from? How many people did you hire there? Do you really need that many people working in that organization?
Accountability. Balance.
Like, that makes no sense. And then meanwhile, they're like, oh, they're going to, jobs. We need more people work for the government. Like, you want them to have more power? You were okay when Barack Obama had all this power, but now Trump's in there. You want to take it away?
Yeah.
You got to be right.
Yeah,
I'd rather them all have a little bit of power.
That's why
It makes more sense.
The
Safer.
people in the middle, call them independent, call them whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
The people in the middle are growing.
And then not only that, there's even positions that I feel like haven't moved, but everybody else around me has shifted over to the left. You know what I mean?
They found themselves there.
And I'm like, why you didn't believe that last year? Now you're believing that? That's weird.
What happened?
And now you're saying I changed? I didn't change. You changed your position.
No, the poll changed.
Yeah.
The post
Yeah.
changed.
It's like you're moving me over. The middle is no longer where I'm at. The middle's over there. Why did you go so far that way that the center moved over a little bit? And now I'm on the right with these guys. I don't trust this guy.
I was not.
Why are
here
you
for-
putting me with him? I don't even like this guy. Now I'm with him?
Now I'm MAGA. Great.
Yeah, I don't like you either. So what the hell? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Now I can't go left and right. I got to step back.
That's why I've always said, when I would get asked, who did you vote for? You voted for Trump, didn't you? I was like, yeah, I also voted for Obama. So what are you saying?
Yeah. We vote for what we think is right at
We
the time.
vote, and right now that post is moving wild. It's
Now-
getting, and that's why I'm saying that the people in the middle, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
They're growing in numbers because they're like,
Yeah, and there's even things that are perceived like, okay, the stupid thing in Iran, right? Whatever. Gas prices go up. In my head, I'm like, it's only going to go up for a little bit of time. It's not going to go up forever.
Yeah.
It can't go up forever. Why? First of all, we got Venezuela right there. If they break OPEC, the thing that does the standards, that'd be better for us because we have all the
We
oil.
got to reset the standards.
Yeah, we could freaking be 10 cents a gallon.
Oof.
Right? We're only doing it because we have a
Imagine.
freaking contract with, all the oil companies got to deal with it.
Yo, you need a ride?
Yeah. So I'm like, not only that, if Iran falls and collapses and the people come over and they take over, that's only going to make better for the Middle East. And it's going to, in turn, make it easier for us. We don't got to worry about these guys no more. So it's a temporary problem for a long-term game. So I get it. I'm not against it. Not only that, like I've heard, I forgot the name of the Secretary of War. Funny. He said they kind of broke down a little plan that I was like, yeah, this makes sense. You got to capture Venezuela. You got to be prepared for Cuba, right? Because and then the Panama Canal. Right? They're using the Panama Canal to bring oil. Did you know that? They just started. Okay. So now we know they're paying, instead of paying them, they're paying over here.
Yep.
So the logic makes sense. But if you're on that side, you don't see it because your consciousness is stuck there.
Yep.
You can't get out of it. When I will be like, all right, I'm going to stick myself out and be over here. Oh, okay. Let me try this side over here. Oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I could take an idea over here and an idea. This makes more sense, guys. Nobody agree? You know what I'm saying? Like,
And it really does make sense. The whole strategic.
yeah.
And again, it I guess to the broader question is like, again, what do you think consciousness? Do you think you have consciousness? What level of consciousness do you think you have? Are you set in your own ways?
Yeah. Another thing too. Let's say, imagine you think to yourself, and nobody wants to do this because everybody got their head up their ass. Let's imagine you think to yourself, like, I think I'm stuck on the lower level of I'm stuck in this thing I can't get out. I think I'm there, right?
Like you find yourself like, oh, this might not be right.
I think that's
Ooh,
now
what do I do?
now the question is, do you let yourself stay there,
Ugh.
or do you think to yourself, I'm better than that? I'm thinking outside. I'm removing myself and looking at myself, thinking I'm stuck there. Let me help myself out of here. Let me reevaluate my situation. You know what I'm saying? Is it fair that we could put Jesus is Lord on this parking spot, but she can't put God is good in Arabic there? Is that really fair? Oh, this is America. Again, you're stuck in your place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Word.
When really the Constitution says you should all be, either all should be able to do it or nobody should be able to do it.
Or in a broader sense, have you found yourself in a predicament where you had a value or a system of beliefs in any category in your personal life, and you found yourself like, this might not be the right way of doing it?
Yeah.
Do you hunker down and say, I don't care, that's who I am, that's how I am, that's how I feel or think? Or do you let it go and
look it up here real quick? I'm trying to remember the name of the book. Look up The Daily Stoic. That one.
The Daily Stoic.
You just passed it. That one. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Ryan Holiday. You should definitely, everybody listening to this, look up Ryan Holiday. Look up how he educates himself, and it would change you forever. I guarantee you it would change you forever. Because he doesn't just read and learn and put the book away and be like, okay, it's in my brain. He doesn't do that. He writes things down. He thinks about, he's like, I read this. Why is it good? Why is it important to remember? Why? And then it brings you to a place where it's like, it's not just what you read now. Now it's the thought process that the person that wrote it had, and the thought process that you had to get there. And it makes you think of thinking in a certain way. So now you no longer need to hear the special, the cute phrase. Now you know how to think for yourself of thinking. So you no longer need to rely on other people's wisdom. You can kind of form your own, in a sense. You should look up Ryan Holiday. He's really good with learning how to read. Like reading, he's really good at that. Anyway, he read obviously Stoicism, which is like Marcus Aurelius's whatever meditations. And he took 366 of across all Stoics. And every day you take a page and you just read the page, and it's quick. It's almost like when you read the daily Bible verse, where you just read it and you.
So this would be a good breakdown of meditation.
Yeah. So you just take the verse or whatever the chapter, you read it, and you just kind of dwell on it for a little bit. And maybe write down special words. Again, his YouTube page is great. Write down special words. Maybe write it down so you don't forget it. That's another interesting one.
Yeah. That's
where you kind of just write it. You read it. And you kind of write it so you don't forget it. So he's really good. If you're worried about I'm stuck in this one consciousness, read. Kind of, he's really good at teaching how to get out of that. Guaranteed. Everybody that reads after a few days, you're like, I don't know why I thought like that. Literally days. I think literally like 2 or 3 days of doing it, you think to yourself like, what was wrong with me?
That's what's up.
Yeah.
All right, guys, you know what to do. It's that time. Ask that question. What is it?
What is consciousness?
What the heck is it?
And are you going to teach the animals consciousness or not?
I don't even want animals.
I always wish that we could teach squirrels a little bit of consciousness. Just enough so they could build little huts. So
in
that
towns?
way, yeah, so that way you're just walking through a freaking park and you look up in the tree and there's like a bunch of little tree houses. You're like, oh, look how cool they are.
They wave at you. Yo,
and
good looking.
And they're freaking hunting freaking animals, whatever, bugs.
You see little wars happening?
That'd be great. That's all I want. I want that. I want a world like that. You kind of walking your dog, he's barking, the squirrels are running away. They're on the tree with freaking sticks. Like,
you wildin', son.
They got face paint on. I would love that.
You wild. That's a TV show.
Yeah. Chip and Dale.
We out. Peace.
Peace.
Yo.